Sparky, congratulations. I heard and you got hired as a referee trainer in the NFL, and I'm just absolutely tickled for you for your new chapter. Are you nervous? Are you afraid? What do you think? Do you worry about the fact that you're the college guy moving in?
No, I don't worry about that at all because at the end of the day, I'm just a football official, and I've got a lot of experience. I think I've got a lot to offer these guys. Part of my responsibility will be helping develop the younger referees from a leadership perspective, and then trying to help them understand Walt's system, and particularly the self-evaluation part and how to adapt and adjust to that. Because I'll take you back to our crew in 2008. That was the first time that I'd ever experienced total self-evaluation by the crew, every game, every play, and it taught me a lot about how to be a better football official. Of course, I mean every official on the crew had their tremendous strengths, and everyone's strength was maybe a little bit different. So I was able to pick up something from everybody there. But I think the thing that we did best was that we challenged each other on a weekly basis about how do we get better. And we got better as a crew. Not only did we get better as football officials, but we got better as a crew. And so, when you come off of a situation like that, you're hungry for more. And then I got put on a crew that was a very good crew the very next year, but these guys were nowhere close to being ready for what we experienced in 2008. Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, the 2008 year and how we operated fundamentally was shaped how I became a referee, and what we did on our crew was the same thing, generally speaking, that the Richards crew did from 2008 going forward.
Well, I can tell you what it did for me. There's always an expectation or a standard that you go by. In 2008, I had not worked with Tom, I had not worked with Carl, David, other than the national championship. But I didn't work with Gene. I had heard about all you guys, but I'd never worked with you. And the one thing it did, it set the standard as to what a crew was supposed to be like. Highest level. It gave us how to manage a game, how to interact with each other. But the one thing it did more than anything was it gave me an opportunity to trust another official.
I think what really impressed me or made an impact on me on that crew was, and I think Bobby at one time said it best, and I think we all felt this way. We looked around and we realized how hard everybody worked and how good they were based upon the historical aspect of it. But we have to throw that away because you're only good as your next call. And as a consequence, we didn't want to lead, at least I didn't want to let anybody down on this crew. I wanted to make certain that who I felt was the weakest link on the crew, would not be a cause for concern that we would be called on the carpet for something. And then you finally realize later on that, you know what, everybody on that crew has that same mentality and philosophy. They all believed they might have been the weakest link on the crew, and they were not going to let anybody down on that crew. And we just understood that, and we worked hard, and we challenged ourselves. And when we had to say bullshit to somebody, we said bullshit, and nobody's feelings got hurt because it came from love.
Yeah. I'll have to say something about that particular game, because that was I had a learning moment in that game as well. The thing I probably remember most, jokingly, was the face mask with Tom, but I remember Tom taking, I don't know if it was David off of a call a critical call in that game, and
Yeah.
really just coming with strong, and we picked the flag up, and it was the right thing to do. And I'll never forget. I don't remember if it was that game, but I had
No,
a block in the
it was
back.
that game. It was that game.
It was that game. On a kickoff, I had a block in the back at about the 15-yard line, and I would have went to my grave. And I remember asking David. David came to me
Yes,
with it and said, "I think that was on the side." And I was so sure. I just looked at him and said, "Hey, if you're 100% sure that's on the side, I'll pick it up. But if you're not 100%, I'm staying with it." And I stayed with it, and I was wrong. And I'll never forget Walt Anderson took word back to the referee and said, "Tell the back judge to leave his ego at the door."
That's exactly what he was. And in that same game, I don't remember what it was. David had a flag down. I don't know if it was a punt or a whatever.
No, block in the back, and Texas ran it the other way and came.
Yeah, and I came up with David's having a conversation with, I don't remember who. I don't know if it was Mike or Spark.
Mike and Tom both came to me, yeah.
And they said, I don't think you're going to like that call. I just don't think it's there. And I remember you looking at me and you said, "I'm picking it up." And it was a valuable lesson in the same game, two different exchanges. And I think that, dang it, we grew so much as a crew on that game. We had a model measurement that was on a later training video that was always good, that Quick's very proud of. Lifting the
I'm not either. You're just not.
Snaps. Big advantage for Texas Tech with the intensity and battling up at the line of scrimmage.
And that win a year ago in Austin, 59-43. Colt McCoy rushed for 51 yards. As we take a look at this, inches away. And here we come.
Very proud of.
I'm not either. You're just not that tall. And DeFee, I'll tell you this much: you get better reception if you stand on a table. Part of your problem is your height issue.
I agree. I absolutely agree with that.
Hey, you know what? We had 3 calls because Mike tried to take me off that face mask call that I didn't see on a slant right across the middle. There were 3 that we got together on. We got 1 right out of 3 in one tough game. And Mike said to me, "Hey, are you sure that's?" And I would have bet my life, and it was one of these. Yeah. And you said, "Man, I didn't see it all, but I don't think it's there." And I said, "I'm gonna stay with it." So both of us were wrong. But we trusted. To Gene's, we trusted, and to Bobby's point, we trusted. Most managers would want what we had bottled up in 1 year because nobody's feelings got hurt, and we were brutal and we were honest, and we shut the door. You know, it was us.
I can tell you this. I think that when everything came out and we realized we were all crewed up, I know for me personally, I thought, man, you've got to step up your game working with this bunch of guys. I know Carl's coming into a situation where, he doesn't know any of us to speak of. I had the opportunity to work was it 1 year, Quick, you and I worked high school?
Yeah. A long time ago.
And then I had really never been on the field with David except for maybe one playoff game we worked, even though we're from the same area. So coming together as a group and all the things you guys have talked about. I mean, we can go on and on about our pre-games. We can go on and on about challenging ourselves. And I can tell you this, when I found out Gene was going to be down the field for me, that scared the crap out of me because I had Gene up there on pretty good plateau. So I think going into the season, we all had set expectations of ourselves and as a crew. And I remember this hasn't been touched on, but Bobby went in, I believe it was Bobby told you, Carl, we're not going to let you f this up.
Oh yeah, it was Bobby. I remember that. Yeah. Gene, what was it like in that transfer to the replay?
Well, before I talk about the replay, I want to comment on something that I think exemplifies what we all experienced and how we grew from that year. Because when Curley said, "Wow, who's this guy downfield? I don't want to let him down. He's on a pedestal." I always made it a point, and we had that implicit agreement amongst us, that when I had to get on subsequent crews, and I realized that somebody might look at me and they might say, wow, we got this quote unquote superstar, I would always pull them aside, especially the rookies, first year guy. They're scared to death. And I would tell them, I don't care about my history and about my resume. I expect you, when I screw up the pass interference call that should not be there, and you're going to sit on your rear end and say, well, I didn't see it that way, but he's got all that experience. He must know something I don't know. If you don't get your ass over there and make me pick up that flag, I'm really going to be pissed at you, because I don't care about what I've done in the past. I care about what I'm going to do in the future. And you had better, you're a rookie guy, you better save my ass, and don't you dare be afraid to come and talk to me. I will tell you, no, I got this, but I will also think about what you're gonna tell me, and I'll make a decision. It'll be my decision. But don't you ever tell me later on, yeah, I sort of should have come and talked to you. I would really be pissed at you. That being said, in trying to respond to your question, you know, as you grow as an official, and you know personally that you're not as sharp as you used to be, and even David Oliver or Bobby Abels or Sparky at 80% is better than most people at 100% when they're younger coming up. But when you get to that level and then all of a sudden you're only at 90 or 80% of what you used to be, that's when you start looking at yourself and saying, I need to get out so that people will always ask me, why did you get out so soon, versus what took you so long to get out? Because you want to maintain, you know, it's an ego thing. You want to maintain your image. And so I had always made it a point that I was going to have to get out of this profession well before I started thinking about this, well before I actually got out of off the field. So I decided I was going to get off the field 2 years too soon rather than 1 year too late. And in that process, what did I want to do? Well, I wanted to go to replay. So I started doing everything I could to master the replay rules while I was still on the field in the last 5 years of my career. Because when you're at the game, when you're helping the referee, when you're doing all this kind of stuff, replay was where I wanted to land. We all had the confidence in ourselves and our abilities to know, hey, you can't do this job unless you have an ego, unless you're confident. You want to embrace the pressure. It's a privilege to be out there and have to make that call that is the deciding call of the game. And we all wanted that call. We didn't shy away from it. And so that's just our personalities somehow magically we understood each other. And I understood where I wanted to go. And so did Sparky where he wants to go. And so did Carl where he had to go. We can get out on our own terms. And that's the beauty of it. So Carl, my hope for young guys, quite honestly, is that if you haven't progressed at your age and you don't feel like it's going to happen for me, that I'm going to get to the level I want to get at, they need somebody to be very honest with them and frank with them so that they can then decide, what's my next path? Is it replay? Is it going back to high school, junior college, being the best at the level I'm going to be at? So I want to encourage the young guys, if they're listening to any of this stuff that we are talking about, to understand that at some point in time, you got to do self-evaluation and realize, I am not going to get to the level where Curly is, or David Oliver is, okay, or Bobby Abel's got to. And they have to have that self-evaluation the same way we had it on the field. We're very fortunate, but they have to be able to realize, I can't get there. Now, what do I do in this great game that we all love?
That's a great point, Gene. And I think to come off of that with the younger people that we're dealing with today, you know, it unfortunately, it's just society in general that we live in a you know, a now, I want it now society. And there's only two ways to make a diamond, and that's time and pressure. Time is experience. There's no substitute for experience. And pressure is having been in situations where you are tested under fire to see what you're made of. And those are things that every official has to go to be able to work at a higher level. And there's just no magic formula for advancing, and it may not be as quick as you think it should be, but there's just a tried and true method of progression through officiating that you just can't cut corners on.
I was very fortunate that we had a guy retire or leave the DC as a deep trainer, and Shaw thought enough of what I had done over the past to give me that a position. And one of the things I see, people look at, I'll give you a good example. Gene Simcoe always did the same thing on every play. It never varied. Mike DeFee, everybody knows him as a referee, but I can tell you he was a 10 times better back judge than he ever thought about being a referee. And the reason for it is, and when guys talk about the standard, they go, well, who do you think is the standard? And I go, Mike DeFee. And they go, no, not as a referee. No, as a back judge. And I said, Mike DeFee. Gene Simcoe was the deep guy for me. But the one thing about it is with these young guys coming up, they don't look at what it takes to be successful. They look at the position they're in and want to say, well, I can do the same thing as Gene. But in reality, they can't. The point I'm trying to make is you take what people say and the experience they have, which is what we all do. If Mike DeFee tells me, hey, I got to do it, that's what we want to do. Young guys today want to think, well, I know more than my trainer, or I know more because of what I saw. You have to take that information and learn from it. I tell my deep guys all the time, I don't care whether you miss a call. What I want is, I want to know how to fix it. If you miss it, admit it, and let's fix it and get it done.
It's amazing throughout the career how many kudos a good crew gets because they fix the mistake before they enforce the mistake. And so the point is, first thing you have to do is you have to make the mistake first. And then when you fix it, you get all the credit in the world because you didn't let a mistake happen. And that's somehow more impressive than never making the mistake to begin with.
Preventing it in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, it's my phone.
Oh, that's a fine. That's a fine, man.
Yeah, you know what? That's worse than Moeller.
Wow.
No.
Hey, Carl, did they just confirm you got the tickets on
Well,
the
no,
cover
I
of Voice
just
to Men?
had a package dropped in and let him in the front door. Oh boy, that's embarrassing right now, isn't it?
No, embarrassing. It's the Voice to Men tickets you just bought on Amazon.
One thing I want to say about, because Tom hadn't said much, out of all the people I've worked with, there was no better communicator than Tom Quick. I learned so much about that from him. I always felt like I had the gift of gab and that I could communicate with people. And then I watched Tom, step in between players and say the right thing. And I just, I think that that's a lost art. And look, our game's changed a lot. The advent of the 40-second clock and teams running up tempo, it just makes it harder and harder to communicate in today's game than it was, years ago. But there's still that ability to be able to pull young men together and have that communication to control things in the middle. No one was better than that, and there's still no one better than that today than Tom Quick.
No,
Cussing a kid on the field, no matter how harsh. All of us have seen friends of ours that have had their careers adversely affected when they say something they'd love to have back to the kids, because that story transitions by the time it gets to the sideline. and that call's going to the boss. Carl, you'll deal with it in Big Sky right now. And cussing a kid, even if you want to, because they all want to be on TV. And I don't know the magic to that. I mean, it's the game's still about somebody's son playing this game, whatever. Maybe not in David or Mike's level where they're working in the NFL, but college football, high school football, JUCO football, NAIA football, they're there to watch their kids play the game. Why wouldn't we facilitate letting them enjoy the day and work so hard you never have to throw a game management foul? And if they cross the line, they bought it. But it's not about throwing penalty flags. It's about adjudicating and managing a game, because as DeFee has told us for years, don't let the rule book screw up a game. You got to know it. You got to deal with it, but manage the kids. So,
well, I think what you did really well, because football at any level is meant to be played on the edge. And coaches get those kids as close to the edge as they can, probably over the edge. And I think that really good football officials like yourself recognize how to pull them back from the edge without having to use the flag. Flag is a last resort, so you give it your best shot in terms of being able to communicate. I would say overwhelmingly the number of times that you've done that, calm the situation down, pull them back to where it's okay, and then the game could be played the way it was meant to be played.
Contrast the two, your college experience, and I mean, everybody wants to work. I mean, let's all be honest. We all started out in this game. We wanted to work where you're working. Contrast the two together and your thoughts.
And, I was fortunate enough to get to the NFL. In 2008, I actually had my interview, but I didn't get hired until 2016. So as you said, you have to wait, you have to be patient, and you have to go out on the football field every single week, and you have to prove that you're the best out there. You're the best in the country at the position you are working. Bring it for your crew, you bring it to the position you're working. The speed of the game in the NFL to me is faster. Working in the college football, you may have 5 or 6 players that are best in the country, but in the NFL, you have every single player on every single team is the best in the world. And the speed was a transition for me, but I think what this crew taught me was focus, discipline, and focus and concentration. And I've just carried that over into the NFL to continue to do that, to be successful. And you definitely have to be focused. You have to be disciplined. You cannot get away from your keys or your responsibility. When you have the opportunity to help, you do, but things happen so fast, you just have to be focused on it and stay on it. Working mechanics, knowing the rules, knowing what they want called. That was one thing that I think we were fortunate to have. Walt, in his program, you knew what a foul was, and what he wanted called and what he didn't want called. And you had to go out there and do it. And when you didn't do it, you had to figure out why you missed it. And we had everybody on this crew that was there every single week in the pre-games, going through, how do we miss this? What can we do better with mechanic-wise? Or maybe we can cover this better. All the different situations we went over. I've never been on a crew like the 2008 crew, since then, where every single person was on board and checked their egos at the door, and we laid everything out there on the table to get prepared to go out and work a football game. So it's truly a business in the NFL, and you have to put the time in just like you're doing in college, but it's every single week, man, you're scrutinized, and there's so many cameras, so many people watching. Now with social media, that has changed from when we were in 2008. Social media is blowing up at every level. It doesn't matter if you're working small college, you're working JUCO or Division I or the NFL. It's you have to deal with social media. So I stay off of social media. I don't watch it. I don't listen to it. Don't do anything with it. If you are on it, if you guys are in this room, you're listening to this, if you're on it, get off of it. There's nothing good that can come out of social media.
Damn right.
They're not out there working that game at the level that you're working. You know, you're whatever height you are, 6 foot, 5'10", whatever. That's the height. That's the level you have. You have one chance at it. You have 1 or 2 seconds to make a decision whether it's a foul or not. And when you look at the rule book, you know, the college rule book, the NFL rule book, it's complicated, and you have to know it, and you have to be able to process that information and then make a decision quickly. And people behind the keyboard and mouse and hiding behind a monitor, they can watch it from different angles and multiple times, and then come up with whatever they want to say in social media. So stay off of it. Nothing good.
Good point.
Out there with it. So.
And if you're 5'4" or 5'6", that's even a tougher angle.
Yeah.
What are you saying?
Sometimes it's a better angle.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's a better angle. You guys are as tall as the football players. At least I've got some leverage on the play. I can see underneath.
And you know,
Are there any, and I'll kind of wrap this up here quick. Are there any regrets you have if you could do your career over that you'd say, dang it, I wish I wouldn't have done that? Anything?
Well, I will tell you that as I age and see stuff on TV, or they have, especially now they have old games on TV, I never, ever, ever think in any situation I'm in, I never think about all the great calls I had. But boy, I can remember every one of my calls I wish I never made. Those stick with you. You can't get rid of them. You learn from them, but you will never get rid of them. And somebody would say, that was a great call. I don't remember, because you expected to make the great call. They don't register. But I remember all of my bad calls. And we make them.
On the opposite side of that, some of the best calls you ever make are the ones that you don't call.
Exactly.
yeah, the no call, holding that flag.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I teach that to the new guys all the time.
I guess if I had one thing to change, maybe it would have been the age that I started officiating, because I was like 32, 33 when I started officiating. So I was a little bit late getting to that. But, man, I had such a wonderful career and developed such wonderful friendships and things that I'll live with for the rest of my life. And, you know, I firmly believe that football officiating as a crew, I firmly believe in my heart that if we do our job in preparation, that there is a predictable result, that I expect a very good outcome, play in, play out, week in, week out, season in, season out. And to go back to what David said about the game being so fast, that's where preparation comes in. Your rules knowledge, your philosophy knowledge, your casebook knowledge, knowing what the boss wants for a foul, what he doesn't want for a foul. Like a computer, every computer has an operating system. Mac is, you know, the OS system. PC for Microsoft. Officials' operating system is the knowledge of the rules, philosophy, and all that combined. And it has to reside in your subconscious so that when you're out there making those quick judgments, you don't think about what the rule says. You react to and judge plays. And just like what Mike said, you can't judge a game on the 2 calls that you may have made during that season. How many judgments did you make to not throw that flag in a given game? Those are more important than the few flags that you do make.
My first evaluation from Tim Millis after my first year was very short and concise. Semco, I like what you call. More importantly, I like what you don't call.
I would say this to the young people out there, men and women. If you have a spouse or a partner, you know, make sure everybody's on board, because that really made it easier for me. You know, I have a wife, a wonderful wife. We raised 2 kids during that time when you started going to high school, small college, and getting into the Big 12, Division I. Takes a lot of time away from your family, but having the support from home was so important for me. You know, it just made things so much easier, allowed me to focus on the job that I needed to do on Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon. So
I was on a conference call Sunday giving to some guys that are working the Sun Belt. And I said, my goal in my job is to to help you take my place. I want to give them all that I can, because the game's going to go on. We could all get fired in the country tomorrow. We could show up on Tuesday and say, and we've seen people in our career who have said, oh, the game won't survive without me. We could all say Tuesday we're not going to play in whatever league we're in. They're going to play football on Saturday. They may get Foot Locker guys. Our job is to perpetuate to the next generation and the younger what it means to do what this crew was so blessed to have happen. And it's not a threat. It's realistic. And whatever league you're working in, whatever level you're working in, if you want to get better, give to somebody younger than you, and you don't know how good you can get. Whether it's JUCO, high school, freshman B football. I don't know what my future's going to be. When I'm done, I'm done. I know the travel beats you up for all of us. Has the travel not gotten old? It sounds glamorous, but you're away from your families, and that's a big thing. It's made me cry in hotel rooms when my kids got to play high school football. But my family has been, to David's point, has been so supportive of this, because this is my family. You guys are my family, and I've got a few others that are on my inner circle, and it's so much bigger than your calls. It's about perpetuating what is the most important thing, and that's doing right by the game, and the game we all love. So I'll leave it at that for you all.
Carl, you got to drop the mic for us right now. That you can't do better than he just did.
I don't even know how to drop the mic. I don't watch Saturday Night Live, kid.
Yeah. Guys, thanks for your time. Bobby, I always want to lean to you. Do you got any last pearls of wisdom?
Hey.
Those people coming up?
Well, I went to a conference one time a couple of years ago, and there was a coach that was speaking, and he made this statement. Everybody has a tendency to be average. That's human nature. Everybody's just trying to get by. Said you want to be good, you get some help from people, you self-evaluate, you look at things that other people do. He said if you want to be great, do the things that nobody else wants to do. But Sean, how are you?
Hi, Miss Sean.
Hi, everybody. I've been working in the yard, sorry.
And so when you talk about want to get to the next level, whether it be NFL, whether it be Division I, whatever it is, if you want to do it, you got to be great. You got to have the want to do the things that nobody else wants to do.
Thank you. Hi, Miss Sean.
How you doing? It's great to see you all.
Yeah, wow.
Good to see you too.
Hey, fellas, gotta go. I have a rule study session I need to get to.
You do,
Love you
and
guys.
then Sparky, you got people there. Look, guys, thank you so much for helping me out on this. This just, thank you.
We need to do this more often.
We probably should, and we will. I'll arrange it. I love you all. Good night.
Love you guys. Thanks.
Good night.
See you guys. Bye-bye.